Welcome. All right, I'm gonna straight up say it. Look, if you can grasp what I'm about to talk about and these concepts that I'm talking about, this should absolutely be life changing. It should make your life a lot easier to live. Okay, it's gonna be a lot of stuff that you gotta learn. That's any time in life. But specifically with this subject, I feel like this is the most important stuff that people need to know in order to obtain what I would call true freedom. So I'm giving y'all this in a diluted, simplified way for you all to just get the ball rolling and in order for you to get your mind around what's going on. But look, let me just straight up ask you this. Have you ever heard that we have the natural right to bear arms? Like, we have the right to bear arms, right? Okay, cool. But then at the same time, you hear people say that you have to have a permit in order to carry a concealed weapon. So it's like, how is it both? All right, just think about that for a second. Let me explain something to you real quick. There is a huge difference between the United States of America, the place, and the United States, which is a corporation. Okay, so you all have to be able to comprehend this. The United States is a corporation. So look, I'm gonna pick up my Black's Law Dictionary, right? This is the biggest version. You all could definitely get a pocket pad version, but this is what you need to know. You have to understand how law works. You have to overstand how law works. Okay, so you have to first of all know what the laws are in order to know what your rights are as a person. Okay, so first of all, we want to ask ourselves, what is a corporation? Okay, so right here in the law dictionary, because mind you, these law terms are not the same thing as what everyday people use a lot of the time. Okay, so you don't even know what a lot of these words really mean legally, quote unquote. So knowing that, that's why I think it's so important to get a law dictionary. In here, it says a corporation is an artificial person or legal entity created by or under the authority of the laws of a state. Okay, this shit just said an artificial person. Okay, real quick. When you were born, did you get a birth certificate? Odds are you did, okay? If you got a birth certificate, let me just go ahead and tell you right now, your parents sold you out. Now, of course, it's not something they did knowingly. If they knew what was really going on, there's no way they would have actually signed that junk. But the birth certificate is basically an application into this corporation, the United States, this artificial person that is in here. Okay, the corporation is an artificial entity, and they create an artificial person, aka a smaller company under the big company, right? So now they created this company with your name. They created this company with your name in all capital letters. All right, so John Doe was just born, but John Doe, his name is in all capital letters on his birth certificate. Now you got to comprehend something. In law, anytime something is written in all capital letters, it's a fictional entity, meaning it does not actually exist. You can't touch John Doe in all capital letters. That's a dead man. Okay, you ever notice that when somebody's dead, you look on the tombstone, they put their name in capital letters. You put somebody's name in capital letters anytime that it's on any kind of bill or anything. Look at your bills. If somebody sends you a light bill, bet your name is in all capital letters. Bet your name is in all capital letters for your insurance, etc. There's a reason why. Because they are not actually demanding money from you. They're demanding money from this business entity that the United States Corporation created with your name. Now, how is this possible that they're able to do this? Okay, so there's a hell of a lot to explain. But just walk with me, because this is very important information. You're gonna have to do your own research too, but I'm just giving y'all some of the sauce, because it's way too much to put in one video. Way too much to put in one video. But look, once upon a time, these people, these founding fathers, drew up this Constitution, right? The Constitution actually held up your rights. You actually do have the right to bear arms naturally. You don't need a permit. You also have the right to travel naturally, okay? Let's talk about travel real quick. This is one of the most important things you need to be able to do in life, is go where you want to go, however you want to do it. Okay. We are getting tricked into giving up our right to travel for, in exchange, privileges to do something that might be called driving, right? We don't know what driving is. We think that driving means we get in the car and go where we want to go. No, that's traveling when you get in the car and do what you want to do. What you got to recognize is there's something called driving, which only happens when you're doing it for business, or should I say for a commercial purpose. Okay, so you get in the car, since you got a driver's license with this artificial entity that is probably called like the DMV or something like that. They created a business that you got a contract with. They made you sign your name on the freaking thing that's called a driver's license, right? I'm sure your signature is on it. If you got a driver's license, you have a contract with this business now. You do not need a contract to travel with anybody. You have the unalienable rights to travel. But when you unknowingly give your rights away and you do something like sign a contract, and then especially if you don't know how to endorse it properly, we don't even know how to write our signature properly. So when we write our signature on something, we don't reserve our rights or anything. So really, when we do something like that, we could very easily be giving away our rights and let somebody else have control over us. So contract law is something that's very, very important. And this is why this stuff is set up like this. These folks are controlling everything about us, from our money, whoever they are. If you don't even know who they are, when a conscious person talk about they, you need to go ahead and go on somewhere else if you don't know who the they is. The powers that be. If you pretend like you don't understand what a smart person mean when they say they, then you got other issues. All right, so you know who they is. It's the invisible people that are controlling this shit. All right. So I'm just going to give this to you raw because this is actually really disturbing information that you can learn and realize how we've all been bamboozled. And I'm here to put a hole in this junk. Like, obviously, if you're on this channel, it's a lot of information that you can come across in this world. Anyway, let me stay on subject. You get this contract for you to drive a car. Now you're operating in a commercial capacity for this corporation called the United States that literally owns you. Physically, they own your body, they own your blood, they quite literally own you. That's why they take your DNA, they take your fingerprints, they put the baby's ink, they dip the baby foot in ink and put it on the freaking paper. They take your fingerprints, they take your DNA and everything. Your parents don't know that when they do this, they're doing this because there's this basically there's this legal stuff that, if you do enough research on it, it happened across seas during one of those plagues. So basically, when there was these great deaths happening, there was a whole bunch of deaths happening, and it was like, damn, these people figured out how to slide in there these rules that basically say we're going to assume that everybody's dead unless they claim to be alive. So now everybody's dead on paper. They created all these fictional entities, even though we're flesh and blood people. We're quite literally here. But on paper, legally, unless we go and do the proper protocol as far as pushing the right paperwork, we're seen as dead people. We're seen as people who cannot contract with the living. The dead cannot contract with the living. You got to understand this. You got to overstand this. I keep saying understand and overstand because in law, if you go into a courtroom and they ask you, do you understand something? Basically, they're asking you, do you let this control you? Are you complying with this? Are you letting us get away with controlling what we just said you have to do? So you don't want to ever say you understand anything in law. So anyways, continuing on. They got people thinking that money is real, right? Okay, the United States corporation went bankrupt a long time ago, okay? Let me think. Once the United States is in bankruptcy, of course you can research all the stuff that I'm talking about. The United States is in bankruptcy, which means that there is no money. The reason why their money isn't backed by gold anymore, and they trick people into turning all their gold in because they're consenting to be a part of this corporation now. When they do this, you give up a lot of your rights as a person in general. Whenever you consent to being a U.S. citizen, every time you fill out an application, it say, are you a U.S. citizen? You check yes, you just sold your rights away again. You just reiterated that you do not have control over yourself. You're giving up all of your diplomatic immunity, your sovereign immunity. And I hope I'm not talking over people's heads when I use certain terms. But like I said, you got to do a lot of research to know what this stuff means. So get a law dictionary. And just look up some words that you use every day, like citizen or residence and stuff like that. You'll realize that all these words in law mean something different than how we use them. The word drive. Anyways, so continuing on. There's this thing that happened that I could go into great detail about all the different groups that are responsible and all that stuff. I'm sure you heard of the Rothschilds, even if that's not how you really pronounce it. The Morgan Group, Rockefeller Group, anything that has to do with these people who or these wicked, evil people who wanted to be greedy and take control of money. They tricked us into thinking that money is real. Let me tell you this. Money is non-existent. So knowing that it is impossible for you to actually pay any debts, because you can't actually pay any debts, when you're doing something like signing a contract, technically you can get out of debt immediately. Like, because the United States is responsible for taking over all of people's debts and paying people's debts back whenever money is available again. Just look up House Joint Resolution 192. People do not have money anymore. Money is non-existent. They have this fiat currency that we call money, and they're tricking us into earning that for a living and then sign a contract and do something like get a mortgage, get a car note. We're thinking that we can possibly pay it off. No, bruh, you'll never pay those debts back. Money is actually silver and gold. That's the only proper ways to actually compensate somebody for anything. So money not existent anymore because they took all their gold, or more like we gave it up, not knowing why. There is no way to pay back your debts or anything anymore. So when you really know what's up, you can get a house for free, you can get cars for free, you don't have to pay back any of your debts, because these corporations are actually responsible for paying all of that stuff. And you as the individual are not responsible for paying anything, because it's not your fault that money went extinct, right? So look, anyway, continuing on, I need you to know what the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights is. So there's a whole lot of articles that we absolutely need to make sure we are aware of. The United States Declaration of Human Rights being one of them. The United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People is another one. You need to read a whole lot of stuff, but I'm gonna keep going as the subject relates. Remember though, House Joint Resolution 192, that's what I just referred to. Look into that one too. But because people don't read laws, they don't know what's actually legal or not. They don't know what all this stuff means. You think there's a law that says you're supposed to pay taxes, right? There's not. There's no law that says you even have to pay taxes. All of this shit is a trick. I need you to comprehend that. You're the one with all the power. You are the God of your reality. You are. Ain't no government more powerful than you are in your reality. You control this entire thing. All this shit is an illusion. This junk is set up to where you have to give your energy to them. They cannot steal it from you. They cannot take it from you. They cannot kill you or do anything like that without your permission. That's why all of this stuff is mind control. There's this thing, for some reason, there's this thing about people who tell the truth, right? People be afraid to tell the truth about what's going on because they scared that some freaking mystery person is gonna come and kill them. These niggas be thinking that somebody gonna kill you if you tell the truth. Bruh, if you don't understand what it means to be a god, you gotta recognize that. You are a god, which literally means you have total control over all of your existences. Anytime you're doing something, you have control. But the only thing is, if you go and giving your power away, you're kind of not exactly behaving as a god anymore. Now you're being a servant. The only way that you can have somebody take control of you is through your voluntary servitude, which gets me into what the 13th Amendment is. All right, I need you to know what the 13th Amendment is, because this is one of the most significant things about who we are as people now. Now, when I say we, I'm just saying us in general. I'm not talking about the free people versus the not free people, quote unquote. Just in general, voluntary servitude. These niggas put in the freaking Constitution as an amendment, of course, because the original one would have never put no BS like this. They put on there that you can voluntarily become a slave. You got to know what a slave is, though, because a lot of people think that somebody would have to like be putting a gun to your head and forcing you to do stuff for them. If you're a slave, but really you're a slave anytime that you're under the will of somebody else. Okay, so that being said, if you are under the will of somebody else, now you feel like you have to pay taxes. You feel like you have to pay money. You think you have to do all of these certain things in order to survive, when really you have the natural right to survive. You have the right to freedom of everything that you want to do in life. Now, of course, you don't have the right to violate somebody else. Duh, nigga. That's like the only thing you shouldn't be able to do. But anyways, how do we fix all of this? How do we get out of these contracts that our parents sold us into? How do we get ourselves free of debts and all of that stuff? All right. So, number one, the only way of doing this is through the UCC1 financing statement. Now, I need you to understand what this is. UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. You should buy a UCC book. You buy a few. Uniform Commercial Code. Study this stuff. Every business, remember, all of this is business entities now. This is a battle on paper. It's not a reality. This is not real people. Matter of fact, let me digress real quick and let me go back to refer to something I said a little bit ago, just to reiterate. I said the dead can't deal with the dead because on paper, you're a dead man. Not you, but of course, this business entity. When you go into the court, you're dealing with also another quote unquote dead entity. You're dealing with something that's fictional. So you, as a living person, once you file the UCC1 and all that stuff, once you take ownership and you claim it to be alive, you cannot contract with something that's not actual, not also another flesh and blood person. So then they can't do stuff like make you get a contract for them to send you to jail. Yes, going to jail is a contract. You have to sign contracts in order for them to do all of this stuff to you. You have to understand this. Everything is a freaking contract. It's all a war on paper. And of course, the thing that people don't want to freaking do in life is read. So of course, a lot of this stuff, it's just a matter of reading it. Because niggas so lazy they don't want to read, it's so much stuff that they've been getting away with for a while now. And it's like, bro, all you got to do is read and you'll understand what the hell's going on. I said understand. I meant to say overstand. You see how our everyday language get tied into how we could easily contradict what we think we know and what is actual. So you got to know the laws. You got to know what stuff really means on paper. Now, of course, what it means to you when you're talking with your homies, that's whatever. But if you're not competent when it comes to this paperwork stuff, with this legal stuff, with this law stuff, you'll forever be controlled by somebody else. You got to know what's up. So look, if you have a kid anytime soon, do not sign the freaking birth certificate and sign them up for the social security number and all that shit. That social security number is a chattel number, which means they are a slave at that point. That is a slave number. So then they're under the jurisdiction of the United States, the corporation. Okay. You ever heard of a state citizen? Have you ever heard of a sovereign? Have you ever heard of a sovereign citizen? Now, a sovereign citizen is some bullshit. That's really an oxymoron. So don't pay that no attention, because a sovereign citizen is really just something that these law people, these Freemasons or whoever, bruh, they just created that crap. And not all Freemasons are on the same level, just by the way. But they create all of these distraction terms, these trigger words that make people turn their ears off, like conspiracy theory. Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. People turn their ears off. They don't want to consider it to even be plausible, because there's a lot of ways. Mind you, this mind control junk go deep, bro. It's all mind control. These people have to be able, in order for them to suffice, in order for them to survive and us keep feeding them energetically, aka the beast, in order for them to keep surviving, they have to feed off of our energy. You ever heard of the mark of the beast and all that stuff? Bro, same thing, the beast. That's the same thing as they, when we talk about the they and the powers that be, shadow government, all that stuff that you talk, all these terms that you've heard is the same thing, bro. It's really just these Kabbalists who figured out how to steal your energy from you, bro. That's all it is. Now look, getting out of this is so important. So let me read this to you. All right. Only through filing a UCC1 financing statement and accepting for value your birth certificate and executing a lien upon the governmentally created, all capital letters name by you in your proper birth given name as the secured party and listing anything and everything your debtor owns. Your debtor is the all capital letters you, the one who is in debt. It's designed for all of us to be in debt. Okay? And everything your debtor owns, will own, and possibly ever could own or control as collateral in the security agreement, can you effectively and permanently remove yourself from the status of a debtor into that of a creditor and actually control property, have access to enforceable constitutional rights. Okay, what did I just say? I basically just said you'll never have control of anything otherwise. Think about it. You could have paid your house off 20 years ago, right? You got a mortgage. You paid that shit off. You thinking you own the house. Bet if you don't pay your land taxes for 2 years, they'll come after your shit and they'll take it back. So what that mean? What does that say? That means you actually don't have control over your stuff. It's not yours. And the reason why is because they own you. If you own it and they own you, that means they own it. You got to comprehend how these pyramids work. All of this stuff is trickery. It's all trickery. Now, this is the Redemption Manual 4.5 edition that I just read out of. Bruh. Look that junk up. It's a PDF online. Look it up. It'll tell all the truths that I'm talking about in one book. It's like 400 something pages. It'll change your freaking life. I didn't learn all this stuff out of this book. I actually just found this book a few days ago and I done read it like halfway through it. This is just an excerpt from it. But I've been studying this junk for years. This is a lot of information to know, and they figured out who, I don't know who the author is. I can't look at it right now because I'm recording this video. But whoever they are, they obviously spent years and years studying this stuff and putting it in the book. It's called Redemption Manual 4.5 edition. It's a free PDF, god dang it. You ain't got no excuse to not know what's going on. And as they say, ignorance of the law is no excuse. If you don't actually know what happened in law, you're not gonna have any excuse for when they come and slap some handcuffs on your wrist or rip you out of your car, beat your ass in the street. Why you think they can do that? Because you signed a contract saying they could. You didn't know that you signed that contract saying that that's what could potentially happen. Your parents sold you into it, and then they probably also pressured you into doing some shit like signing up to vote and giving up some more rights there, saying you a U.S. citizen. You get a freaking driver's license. That probably wasn't even your idea either. It could have been, but either way it goes. The only reason why you want to do that stuff is because everybody else around you is doing it. All of this stuff is by design, bruh. But when you accept for value your birth certificate, really it should be the certificate of live birth, which I'll get into the steps on how to do this in a little bit. But once you do this, you're taking ownership over that business entity that is in all capital letters. When you own that business, you're taking control of it. Boom, you're putting it over here. The flesh and blood you, boom, you're putting it over here. You're putting you over here. But look, you have to separate the two because they're combined, and that's why you are obligated to the stuff that is contracting with this capital letters version that they created. But once you separate this and you, the flesh and blood person, you stand on your own, and this straw man over here, they call it a straw man. This straw man's over here. At this point, there's a clear separation between the two, so you cannot be held to the obligations that this fictional entity is because you are not a fictional entity. But if you don't document the freaking paperwork proving it, then you will forever be under somebody else's control. Especially if your parents already sold you into this shit. Because when you hit age 18, you ever notice you hit age 18 and you're supposed to like you get more rights and stuff? The reason why you hit age 18, they call that the age of majority. All right. In law, you hit the age of majority, you're supposed to go and file the proper paperwork with the Secretary of State and all these other entities, whoever else you may or may not have contracts with. But anyway, Secretary of State is basically the highest, most renowned notary in the world. Anyway, so look, when you do this stuff, this is where you need to start. Now, this is where you need to start. Where you need to start is, first of all, you need to authenticate your birth certificate. I made a video on this. I had people ask the questions about it because they didn't know what the hell I was talking about. So here's your answers, all right? You authenticate your birth certificate. First of all, you got to go to VitalCheck, VitalCheck.com. Get the certificate of live birth. That's not the same thing as a birth certificate. I would show you mine, but I'm not going to do it right now. So look, just believe me when I say it's going to say certificate of live birth. Matter of fact, shit, I got that junk right here, bruh. All right. This thing is not the same thing. It's even on bond paper. This is how you know this is a money exchange. Now, I don't know what stuff I should probably cover up and what stuff I shouldn't, because I don't know if this is sensitive information or not, but this ain't me. This is a business entity they created. So let me just cover up a majority of the shit. But look, this right here, this shows the state. They started that business corporation in the state of Georgia for me. All right. So I took it up to the Secretary of State. Look at this, bro. Look at how this paper look. This paper got the seal on it. This is on bond paper, dog. That means that this is a bank statement. This right here is basically money, right? They printed this on the same kind of paper that you can create money on, bro. So what that say? That means that this business entity that they created with your name, aka your life, has a monetary value to these people. Dun dun dun. Yes, bro. These people, these businesses are trading your name on the stock market, bro. There's so many levels to this junk. It's so deep. They're making trillions of dollars off of us. Trillions. Off of money that ain't even real. Because that business entity is not real. It says certificate of live birth on the top though. So look, it says certificate of live birth. They're not gonna give you that. Like, unless you specifically ask for it. They're gonna give you a birth certificate. You're gonna think that's the same thing, bro. No, keep that or whatever, but you need to order a long form or a certificate of live birth. And when you get on Vital Check, you might just need to put in legal purposes on what you need it for, because they're gonna try to give you the wrong shit. Remember, all of this stuff is tricks and stuff, so they're not gonna make it easy to free yourself. You really have to know what you know. You gotta really know what's up. So look, that's what you gotta do. That's step one. You get it, you take it to the Secretary of State or you send it to them, they'll authenticate it. Basically, that just means it is valid. All right. Then you got to do it on the federal level. You got to do this stuff on a state level and a federal level. It's so many levels to this stuff now. You got to cover all bases. If you are lazy, you don't really want to be free, if this is too overwhelming of information or anything like that, you ain't built for this. This right here, this is the red pill, my nigga. This is the red pill. So, look, once you do this, mind you, it's only going to take you a few months to get all this stuff done once you know what you're doing. It might take a minute to study it, but you could just do it, bruh. Once you do it, you'll literally be debt free. Who don't want to be debt free? Raise your hand if you don't want to be debt free. Ain't nobody finna raise their hand. Everybody got this idea of being debt free. This is how you do it. UCC1 financing statement. But you gotta first authenticate your certificate of live birth in order, and then of course attach an affidavit of ownership to it and get that notarized in order for them to know that you're taking control of this business entity. You're claiming ownership of that business entity at that point. You gotta do this, bro. It's so important. I cannot stress enough how important this part is. And then there's one more part. Once you file the UCC1, you basically put all the stuff that you own and ever will own in that. The next thing, you need to get a passport, okay? Mind you, you got the right to create your own IDs. You can do that. Can't nobody say you can't. They could try to call it a fake ID or whatever, but if they don't own you, they can't do anything to you anyway. If I get pulled over, right, I'll put a lot of ID that's not with this contractor that they have, aka it's not with the DMV. They can't do shit to me. Mind you, though, there's levels to it, because if you registered your car, the word register means something different. I'm gonna get back to the passport. All of this stuff is tied into each other. If you register your car, what did that tag say? It got a certain state on it. You donated your car to that business. You don't realize it's what you're doing when you register something, because you don't know what the word register means. I mean, maybe you do, but you follow me. Registering something means to give up ownership to it. So you just donated your car to the state of Illinois, for example, right? You just donated your car, and now they own it. They can control it. So if you're driving it, because it's a commercial business, that's a business that you donated that car to. Since a business owns that car, now anytime that car is operating, they could try to say this is being used in a commercial capacity, even if you, the individual, are simply traveling in it. Okay, so if you're doing that, they could try to say that you're controlling their vehicle. And of course, technically it's true, because you contracted with them by registering your car and you let them own it. The tag literally has the state on it, on who owns it. You can put your own tags on your car. This is the stuff you got to realize. You can be your own government. You can have your own IDs, your own tag. You can have your own nation. Bro, you can literally own whatever you want to actually own and truly own it, and don't owe anybody anything. Never owe taxes, never owe any kind of reparations to somebody else, and none of that stuff. They owe us. Hey, you talking about? So look, keep it going. With the passport though, you get this passport, you apply on the passport, they ask you if you're a U.S. citizen. Say no, say no, say no, say no, say no. Anytime that these folks got you on any kind of paperwork, they ask you if you're a U.S. citizen, say no, because they're gonna try to use that against you. If they if you say that you are a U.S. citizen, that means you're in their jurisdiction, aka they can control you now. So if they say that you broke their rules, now they can punish you for it. You are not a U.S. citizen. You were not born in Washington, D.C. The United States is the territory of Washington, D.C. Were you born in Washington, D.C.? Probably not. There is probably 0.00001% of people who were born in Washington, D.C. That ain't what we talk about. I'm talking to the masses. We weren't born in Washington, D.C. If you were, send me a email, and then we could talk about that too, though. But look, if you have a passport, you apply for your passport, you say you're not a U.S. citizen, you got to say you're not, you got to say your mom and your dad are not as well. And it's the truth. It's not like you lying. It's not like you pretending. You're not a part of the United States corporation. You can say you were a state citizen. You were born in a state. Do you know that a state is an individual country? Do you know that? Do you know that a state anywhere else in the world, a place is called a state when it's a country? But here, we don't know because we think that these states are united. We don't understand what any of this stuff actually means. Every state got its individual laws, right? Did you ever notice that they all have their own individual laws? You can get away with some stuff. In some states, there is no death penalty. In other states, there's a death penalty. The reason why is because every state is an individual country. This is what you got to know. You can be a state citizen. So if I was born in Georgia, I'm a Georgian because I was born here. I'm not no United Statesian. You never even heard of that. I need you to comprehend why this is so important though. Like, bro, you got to get it. Because if you got a passport, right? They give you that passport and they say you're not, and when you mark on there, you're not a U.S. citizen, they don't have the right to check your bags. They don't have the right to hold you. They don't have the right to confiscate none of your shit. None of that, bro. This is what you gotta get. You can even, oh yeah, and back to the thing about the right to bear arms. This is when you get the right to bear arms and you're actually utilizing it. Because when you go and buy a gun, you can use your passport when you go and buy a gun. But this is only when you do it the right way. If you say that you're a U.S. citizen on your passport, you're going to have to do it over again and then put that you're not. And then you can do this stuff. But look, you can buy guns and it just be connected to your passport. I really highly recommend that you put it in a gun trust though. And operating through trust is a whole nother thing. But you don't actually want to own your stuff. You want your trust to own your stuff. Everything is operated through trust. Everything. You need to conduct all business through your trust. If you don't know what a trust is, you ever heard of somebody being a trust fund baby, or they have a trust fund? That's somebody who has wealth. That's somebody who has wealth. Also, on the passport thing, you can travel with your passport in any capacity, which means you don't need a driver's license. You could grab your car, get in it with your passport. If a cop pull you over, you showing your passport, I bet you everything they gonna let you go. Even if you were speeding, they don't have the jurisdiction to do that. Maybe they could write you a ticket, maybe. But even if they write you a ticket, if you don't have a driver's license for them to apply it to, because they don't have you under contract, that means that you don't owe them shit. Do you get how it works? You don't owe them nothing because you're actually in control of your reality at this point. Now look, it's gonna cost some money to get out of these contracts. That's cool. This money ain't real anyway, right? So get your hands on enough cash, something we call money, and get out of these contracts. You're gonna have to get rid of all of them. You're gonna have to get rid of your registration for your car, get private plates. You're gonna have to make sure that you're on the personal side, that you get out of the contract that is your driver's license. You're gonna have to get rid of everything that has to do with this capital letters fictional person. Now, the social security number, you gotta turn that back in, turn in the social security card, all that stuff. Now, there are some people who do this. They operate on both sides of the matrix and get some benefits off of being a U.S. citizen, but they got their passport right. But honestly, I think you should be all the way in or all the way out. Really, obviously, I think you need to be all the way out, because this is how we gonna have this revolution going, where everybody actually gets what's owed to them, what they deserve. In life, you always get what you deserve. If you came across this video, you deserve to be free. If you came across my channel, you deserve to be free. And something is already in you knowing that this junk is not right. Something's not right. And you've already been sensing that junk. And this is what I might call getting to the bottom of the rabbit hole. Because once you get this stuff done, you're truly free. When you buy a house, you put it in your trust. Mind you, you got to create a foreign trust. Create a foreign trust. Get on the phone with the IRS. Yes, the IRS, the same niggas that people is just afraid of. It's called Internal Revenue Service, which means they're here to serve us. You don't owe them nothing. But when you create a business entity that's outside the United States, for example, Taiwan, here's something else you need to look into. Look into the Hague Convention. That's HAGUE. Now, you want to be a part or affiliated with a country that's not, I said not a part of the Hague Convention. Because basically what this is the Hague Convention is basically a part of these, it's the groups of countries that's kind of trying to take advantage of people in every way. The ones that's not a part of the Hague are still looking out for the rights of the people. That's the easiest way to summarize it. Like I said, all of this stuff is just as diluted and easily digestible. Look, this is what you got to do. Do this stuff. Authenticate your birth certificate, your certificate of live birth. You need to file your UCC1. You need to set up a foreign trust. Get the foreign EIN. That's the employer identification number. You can conduct business through your foreign EIN. That is your new social security number. That's the number you go through. When that number's gonna start with a 98. When you get that 98 number, you tax exempt. Period. Tax exempt. So when you do this, then anything that you buy it in the name of that trust. And of course, what represents that trust is that EIN. Obviously, you don't write the EIN on the contracts. You would, first of all, reserve your rights on anything, but make sure that you sign everything over to your trust. If you already own some stuff, I recommend putting it in a trust. Look up how to set up a trust appropriately. They got revocable trust. They have irrevocable trust. It's two different things. There's a lot to know. But these are the three most important things. 3, 4. Look, you need to get ownership of the person who is this person on capital letters, quote unquote person. Look up what a person is in your new law dictionary. Once you get control of that business entity, you need to do the passport. Once you do the passport, you're going to have diplomatic immunity. Can't nobody do nothing to you. You get caught speeding, they'll let you go. This ain't no guarantee, but this is what I know. All right. So that being said, I appreciate you watching. Until next time. All right, bruh. Take care.